Hello everyone, my name is Ren Shabert and I am a student teacher and also an artist. This is a piece that I made for a project for my drawing class last November. It was from a project called the Hero Project where we looked at the work of one or two artists and tried to combine them with our own style in order to create something new. So this is based off of the work of both H.R. Geiger and Junji Ito, two of my favorite horror artists. I will be showing you more of my work in other mediums as well. On the side of this ceramics piece, it says, "A siren's voice calls out to the lonely and broken-hearted, leading them to the sea with the voices of the deceased. For whom can resist the allure of love and memories and time gone by? When you hear her lament, will you follow to the waves below or tie yourself down until morning light erases the whispers of the night?" And on the other side, it says, "Claimed by the Sea," which is the title of the piece. This is a piece I made in about 20 minutes to test out how glass looks when placed behind ceramic eyes. So as you can see, there's a lot of glass running down this face. I placed glass inside the mouth before placing the teeth in. I placed glass in the nose, and you can see, especially right here, where the glass slightly broke, because there used to be just a small hole for the glass to leak from. Like on this side, there's that small hole. But here, because of the heat from the kiln, you can see where it broke out and ran down the face. Inside is a combination of two different glazes that have a chemical reaction and cause bubbles. Inside is more glass. This painting was displayed with a sculpture and multiple drawings of different aerial silk poses. This painting itself served as both a part of the piece, but also as my artist statement. I'll be reading the poem that is on the canvas now. To fly is to be free, is to be in the sky with no cares and to just be. I could take my wingless back as a sign of my grounded nature, or maybe become a new creature and do the impossible and take flight as I am now. Humans before me were infatuated with the sight of a human being in flight. From Orville to Da Vinci, people wanted flight, but none were so elegant as the aerial silks. Might you take a chance of falling for the possibility to fly above the earth in a graceful dance? It may hurt to learn, fall, climb, flex, straighten, drop, drape, spin, lean, and pose. The illusion of ease and weightless being, the beautiful wingless in air dance of twists, curls, swings, inverts, and toe pointing. But every part, every movement, small or large, creates flight. Aerial silks. Is it silk kiss or silk bite? I want nothing more than to soar with the birds without confines. A piece I made in small metals. The surface, why it has so many different colors, is because I treated it with multiple different chemicals to create this color. You can see where some lines were created by sitting in different chemical baths. I made every piece of this, including the barbed wire, and it opens. Inside, some of you will probably recognize the techniques I used to create the two different layers. The goal of the assignment was to create something that has a hinge. These are polymer clay pieces that I made actually while I was also in high school. They are meant to serve as parts of jewelry. Some of them have built-in places to connect. Some were meant to be used in other ways. This one has like a nice little hole in it. There actually used to be like 5 or 6 of these in varying colors. This is the last one I have. Now, over the years, some of them have gotten a little broken, like this one used to have a lot more pieces to it. But some are just really pretty and they mimic the look of some stones. Like if you can see the flecks of color and almost opal-like qualities in the white on this one. Some of the Palmer clays can even mimic various metals. These are all made out of resin and varying materials inside. This is something that's rather new to me, but I've been experimenting with the past few months. And here are some of like my favorite creations. There's some where I had a mold, but instead decided to only fill part of it in order to create something different than the mold is supposed to be. Like all these pieces are just part of the mold where I took a small toothpick and dragged the resin to all the smaller parts of part of the mold. Oh, here's another one. These are all from one night. These were all actually made of some extra mold from something rather big I was working on. And I had a little bit of extra, so I made all these. And some were other experiments where, for instance, these two, I put the pigment in the mold before I poured the resin in. You can see that the pigment changes color throughout and is also very strong when compared to when the pigment is pre-mixed. Because this is pink, but the pigment itself is actually red. Now some of these other pieces are from other things I've done. This resin bear has fur inside from one of my cats. This is a small jar I had that I filled with varying small star-shaped glitters and metals, and then filled with blue resin. This is something that I tried out. This is a Alice in Wonderland locket. It says Curiouser and Curiouser. And inside I put things relating to Alice in Wonderland and then poured resin on top. So this is all sealed inside. There's keys, there's a mushroom back there, it's a little hidden by the glitter. Some gears and a blue eye. And then some of the other bigger things. This was a test piece for our bigger project, trying to make gems for a wall piece actually. And then this was test creating different layers. Inside there is a crow sitting in a golden nest. You can see the bottom of the nest here. While it was drying, I put a hook inside because I decided to use it as a Christmas ornament because it's a little big for jewelry, at least the kind of jewelry I like to make. And then this was a collaborative piece done with another artist who is also my fiance, named Samaya Edwards. So this piece has a shape of 3 mountains with 3 stars, which is a reference to a book series called A Court of Thorns and Roses. All of these stars were very carefully placed by me. She was the one who mixed the resin and tried to create the different layers. As you can see, like it fades from one color to another. And then I spent 40 minutes on each part of this, placing the stars to make sure that they were, kind of spread apart, although some of them did float upwards a little bit. For my personal history with art, I started working on art pretty young. Both my parents used to volunteer to create props for charity haunted houses. So I spent a lot of time making fake horror things. I worked on animatronics, I worked on costumes, I worked on sculptures and various other things, and also lots of creepy audio since I was a kid at that point, and making creepy kid audio was kind of perfect. I did that for many years with my parents, and then I also really loved art class when I was in school. In high school, I discovered ceramics and I fell in love with it, and I've never stopped doing it since. It's actually one of the things I've been doing most during quarantine. I finally got a small kiln, so I've just been making lots of things. Um, and then other things I fell in love with later. Uh, in college, my first year of college, I took a printmaking class and I fell in love with printmaking because I'd never experienced it before. Here's a block I did not too long ago. I also have lots of mistakes because everyone makes lots of mistakes. So this is like one that I made, but the characters are the facing the wrong direction for printing. So I have to eventually fix that. I work in many different mediums. There's many things I have done, like I have made small metal jewelry. This says Nizumi, which means rat in Japanese, and I even had a rat named Nizumi at the time I made this. I didn't actually name him though. And then there's many things that while I have done for a long time, I'm still not very good at, like sewing. This is supposed to be a camel. I made it for my fiance, and her name's Jeannie. She has a very small hump, as you see. And I made her last month. I've been sewing since I was like a very small child, and I'm still working on that skill. But there are many things that I enjoy doing that I'm significantly better at. But I have loved art for a very long time, and it's part of why I decided to become an art teacher. In fact, I used to teach jewelry making classes when I was in high school, um, and that's the entire reason I decided to become an art teacher. And I am absolutely excited and thrilled to be teaching another jewelry making class.